if you can solve rich people problems, you can charge rich people prices. And that's just kind of the motto we were taking. It's like, I'd rather go do 2 rides and make $600 on a day rather than having to dog out 7 or 8 rides and just, spend all that money in gas and fighting the traffic.
All right, well, thanks everyone for joining me here for the Duet NEMT Growth Podcast. I'm joined by Ray and Mac from the Doctor Ride. 2 really good operators, have built something really cool that I think you guys are going to really enjoy hearing about. And so I'm excited to have you both on and learn from the system you've put together that's worked so well for you.
Heck yeah. We're excited to be here, man.
Definitely are. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And so when I first met you guys, we were talking, I think we met on Instagram or something. We were talking and, you said you came from real estate, actually, got into NEMT because you saw a big opportunity here. Mm-hmm. And I remember you said to me, it seems like a lot of NEMT operators, don't have the greatest systems or processes. It's a little chaotic, but people have still built really successful businesses here. And so, and you said, and we were really curious, what if we dialed in the systems and processes, how successful could we be over time? Mm-hmm. So I'd like to, that's kind of the thesis of this episode, is sort of how can systems and processes really support an NEMT at scale, help you move from 1 vehicle to 50 vehicles and so on. Mm-hmm. So, take me back to that first conversation. The 2 of you are in real estate talking about getting into NEMT. What made you want to pull the trigger and jump into a whole new industry?
Yeah, no, I'll let Mac take this question, but I will say I didn't actually know what NEMT was 2 years ago, and Mackenzie introduced me to the idea a couple of years ago. I was like, man, one day I really want to have an NEMT business. I was like, what is NEMT? So I'll let him take it from there. But
yeah, Ray was like, dude, what's this guy on talking about NEMT? So yeah, real estate was what we had been our main hustle. We both got our real estate license going on 10 years ago now. Ray beat me to that, and I was a couple years after. We were fixing and flipping houses. It's a grind, just like anything else, and always chasing that next deal, right? And that's, in real estate, it's very cutthroat. We're in North Carolina. We were in Raleigh, North Carolina at the time. We live in Charlotte now, but it's a super hot market, still is, and it's just a really cutthroat business. And I had a personal experience with my own grandmother that really opened my eyes to the need of wow, transportation is something that, senior adults absolutely struggle with. My grandmother did not drive at all. She, just her eyesight got too bad. It just wasn't safe for her anymore. So I was, at the time, being in real estate, my schedule was pretty flexible. So I was the one that was taking her to and from appointments, waiting for her at appointments. And I even tried to find some help, between myself, my parents, and aunts and uncles. The money wasn't the issue. We could all chip in and afford a good service for her. But even with that in mind, I was still not really finding a good service that I felt like could do a good job, or at least made me feel like they could do a good job. Right? I wasn't getting that assurance or peace of mind on the phone that the job was going to be done, to the standard that we wanted. So that was my eye-opening moment where I realized that this is something that really has a demand for it. As far as I know, everyone's getting older. I don't know anyone getting younger out here. So that's definitely, and the baby boomer generation is the largest generation from what I read. So I was like, hey, this is a demand now, and it's only going to get larger, right, as people continue to get older. So that was kind of our thought process with that. So we wanted a service-based business. I was like, Ray, it'd be so cool, man, if we had a business where people were coming to us because we just had a top-notch service and people just wanted to use it, rather than on the flip side of us having to constantly send marketing, constantly just, tough it out and fight for the next deal. I mean, real estate's dog eat dog, man. There's no, people can act like your friends, but everyone's in it just to make money. And so it's a cutthroat business. And so yeah, that was really kind of the origin of the conversation and us getting going. I brought it to Ray. Ray had no idea what it was, and I only knew what it was because I was looking into it at the time, and I was like, okay, this is an actual niche business.
I think the other thing that surprised us was he was actually calling around, and a lot of the businesses wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't call him back. He's filling out forms on websites, not getting a response. So we were like, how are they? It's pretty wild to think that these businesses are open, but we can't even get anyone to answer the phone or call back. Yeah. So that kind of sparked our interest, because with real estate, it's just not like that, right? People will most of the time answer the phone. People have really good systems and processes for intaking leads. And so that was kind of what sparked our interest, I would say.
It's funny because literally that's exactly how I got into NEMT. Like I was trying to book rides for my grandmother. People wouldn't call me back. They would show up an hour late. She'd miss her appointment. And I was like, man, like there's got to be better operating systems in NEMT. And of course, I went into the software side, the dispatching software at Duet. You guys went into the direct operating side with the Doctor Ride, but also sort of building systems that can apply to other services. So I think, great minds think alike in this regard,
Yeah.
if I can say. Um, and I want to note, like, if you guys go and Google the Doctor Ride and find their Google profile, you'll see they've got like 45 5-star reviews, which is really difficult to pull off, almost unheard of for a service that's been as new as yours is. So we'd love to see love to hear how you got to that point, and what kind of systems you put in place to generate that quality of consistent rides and feedback.
Yeah, no, I'll take this one. So, I mean, when we were doing our research on the business when we were first getting into it, there's a couple, there's a handful of businesses in our market that definitely have, good online presence, good ratings, a lot of reviews, but it's really, I mean, you can count it on, one hand, really on the ones that are really trying to capitalize on the online presence aspect of it. So for us, we just knew if we got into it, one of the main things we'd really try to capitalize on would be one, just having a really good online presence and building some really good systems and processes for actually like answering the phone, intaking leads, actually getting back to people who were filling out forms on our website, all of that good stuff. So as far as the systems and processes to basically grow the reviews on our business page, first off, we really just try to do a good job at the end of the day. Mac and I, we made a promise that we would just treat everybody that we're providing transportation to, that we would just treat them like they're our own grandparents or our own family member. We really just are trying to go above and beyond. So even though we have a process for kind of asking for reviews, the service that we're providing, I believe, is a really good service. We're using high quality vehicles. The vehicles are super clean. We're showing up on time, and we're really just trying to go above and beyond. I mean, even as far as like water bottles in the van, like offering a water. If it's raining, we've got umbrellas. We'll meet them at the door. We'll break out an umbrella for them. Like, we're really just trying to provide a really solid service. And I do think that helps as far as being able to get more reviews. And I don't know if we want to touch on this a little bit later, but the system that we have in place does also kind of add some automation to actually thanking the customer for choosing us, and asking if they would consider leaving us a review if they had a good experience with us, and making it really easy for them to do that.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Like, we always ask at the end when I'm dropping someone off, and I know we've performed and done everything we said we were going to do. Showed up on time, got them back safely. Ride was clean and smooth. I'll ask them at the end. I'll say, hey, listen, we're a small business. We're new to the area. A review goes a super long way. It really carries a lot of weight for a small business like us. And then the system that we have that we'll touch on sends them a text that just makes it easy, right? Because I think if the system wasn't texting them, thanking them for their opportunity to help them out with a link to where they could leave a review, right? If I'm asking someone, you got to Google me, find me, do all that stuff, then I think we'd have far less reviews. Because we're big believers, man. You got to spoon feed people, man. If they're gonna do it, you got to make it as easy as possible. Like, we constantly are thinking about how can we remove friction out of our process in any part of our operation, right? There's
Same.
And all this. So it's like, how can we remove that? And so I'll ask them that, and then I'll get home and I'll move them around in our system to where they get that automatic text message that thanks them for their for giving us a chance to help them, and then has that link. So it's just quick and easy.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys are like, showing a QR code when you're dropping them off and the family members around, like, hey, scan this, leave a Google review. I think the 2-point thing you bring up is really good. Like, you ask in person, you encourage your drivers to ask in person, and then if they haven't left a review in 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever, you send a reminder or two.
For sure.
So, I mean, you've already mentioned a couple things you maybe do differently than the typical NEMT, like the water bottles in the car, the umbrellas, the sort of care and attention to detail you put into things. But would be curious about sort of on the systems level, like what are you looking at every week that maybe other NEMTs are not, that helps you maintain this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So our system that we basically have a dashboard and a pipeline, which we have a full breakdown of kind of the system that we're actually using. It's on our YouTube channel, which we can throw a link to that in the description of this if you want to check out exactly how it works. But we really like to just see every week how many people have contacted us to request transportation or get a quote, and have like how many of them are sitting in that part of the process where they haven't said yes, they haven't said no. We just kind of have an open quote out to them, right? And we try to go above and beyond this, and we send everybody that we talk to the quote that we discuss via a text message or an email, whatever they want. But we try to go above and beyond and actually, answer the phone first off, but then actually give them in writing what it would cost them to use the service. So I like to just get a look at the pipeline to see like how many people are going to potentially book a ride with us in the near future. I like to see how many rides have we actually booked, how many rides have we completed, and then debatably the most important, I would say, would be how many rides have we lost, how many people haven't booked with us this week, and why have they not booked with us? Is it a price problem? Like, is it too expensive? Is it a scheduling thing on our side? Can we not accommodate it? Are they just out of our service area? And just those core things alone kind of can help us figure out what we need to do in the business to kind of keep things moving, right? Like if we don't have a lot of bookings that week, okay, it might be a good time to go do more walk-ins, hand out more brochures, really dial in the Google ads and the SEO. How can we drive more traffic to book more rides? If we're having to turn down rides because we can't accommodate it, then if that happens enough, then you're at the point of where, okay, how do we get another vehicle? Is it time to bring on another driver, right? So some of these things that we're tracking, I think, just kind of help us make decisions on what to do in the business in real time. So
Yeah. And to add to that, just for the viewers here, like we are primarily private pay, right? Like we are fully private pay. We have
100% private pay. We don't do any
100%.
broker rides.
No broker rides at all. We have a facility that we work with. We actually have a public charter school that's used us a handful of times. There's a dentist office that's used us a few times. So we have one main facility. Again, we're only 8 months old into this journey. And we, now that I've done, I don't know, probably 70, 80 plus walk-ins to places, we definitely got lucky in the beginning. It was just right place, right time. The facility was kind of kicking some of their previous transportation providers out the door. They were just kind of dropping the ball too much. So it was just right place, right time for us. And we were fortunate enough to build a good relationship with them. And we actually met them before we ever even had a van. But I was walking in with this hat, this polo, I had marketing materials. Like for all he knew, I was ready to give a ride that day, right? But we didn't have the van yet because we were just like, we're not going to take on all this overhead before we actually, insurance is crazy.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, so we just weren't going to take on all that overhead without at least making an attempt, right? And Ray built our killer website, so we actually had turned down some rides, which we were talking about it earlier today. We're like, I wish we would have done some more networking with other providers in our area because we could have just divvied those off and made a little money real quick. But yeah, we actually were turning down rides because we just didn't have a van, right? But people were finding the website, and that was such proof of concept to us because Ray built the website in a few days. It wasn't nearly what it looks like now. Our website now is super dialed in, I think, thanks to this guy. And I just think that was a big proof of concept. So
it was a couple months of building an online presence, really working on the SEO, writing blog posts, really trying to get us to rank. And we wanted to prove, can we get people to call us and request rides? And we just advertised it on the site, coming in fall of 2025, right? So
yeah,
we marketed it, hey, we're not operating yet, but like in operation in fall 2025. And we started getting calls. People were filling out forms, and yeah, we had the conversation earlier. We were like, man, we should have tried to like send those to somebody else, but we just kind of brought them into our CRM. We still have their contact information and everything like that, but
yeah.
And so you guys, there's the doctor ride, which is the operations side. There's one NEMT, which is like this system you've built and you've made available for other NEMT providers to use the same thing that's working so well for you. Just saw a question from Talia from CharmMed in the comments here. Are you texting your Google review link on another platform that sends to Google? I feel like the email requirement hurts us with Google reviews. Curious how I guess on the technical level you're, getting that link out to people so they can leave the review.
Yeah, so two things. So we send a text message, an SMS message, thanking them for the opportunity to give them a ride, letting them know how they can book another one, and then asking if they'd be willing to leave us a review if they had a good experience. And then we actually send them an email that has links for them to leave us either a Google review or a Facebook review. And if they click it, it will bring them straight to Google or straight to Facebook, where the only thing they have to do is be logged in or log in. So we try to make I feel like that's about as seamless as we can make it, but that's currently kind of how we're handling that.
Got it. So you touched on the fact that you're 100% private pay. Why did you decide to do 100% private pay instead of playing the broker game?
Partially, when we were doing our research on the business, we joined a lot of the NEMT, public groups on Facebook or private groups on Facebook, and from what we could tell, a lot of people were really frustrated with working with brokers. And that's not to say you can't build a phenomenal business based on broker rides. But from what we could tell, to really actually make money doing that, you had to, one, have an established relationship with the broker, which I think is kind of hard to do if you don't really have a lot of vehicles. And two, you really have to give a lot of broker rides to be profitable. From what we could tell, the private pay sector just seemed like it had more opportunity, especially combined with the fact that when we were doing our market research, calling other businesses, and when he was trying to book rides for his grandmother and he couldn't get anyone to call him back, we just were like, why don't we just try to be really easy to contact and have a really good online presence, run Google ads, have a really good SEO, and just try to take that angle towards it. And we are still really early on in this business, so it's not to say that we won't ever do broker rides. But for right now, we feel like our efforts are better spent trying to get more private pay rides than it would be for us to just go do a bunch of broker rides at a really low rate. Because we've definitely applied to work with different brokers and we're accepted. They send us rides, but the rates for us are just, I'd almost rather just not do the rides and go do more walk-ins and work on ads and just try to get a better or a bigger private pay base. But
yeah, we are signed up for several brokers. I get the ride requests, but the amount that they're usually trying to pay is just like laughable. And maybe we just haven't found the right ones quite yet, but that's just been our experience so far. And our market here in Charlotte, there's a lot of older people who have a lot of money, and I know that for a fact. So there's a guy that me and Ray both watch a lot of content from. His name's Alex Hormozy, just a big business guy, and he has a quote that me and Ray both really love: is if you can solve rich people problems, you can charge rich people prices. And that's just kind of the motto we were taking. It's like, I'd rather go do 2 rides and make $600 on a day than and they're easy rides, you know what I mean? And they're pretty nothing stressful about it, not too much wear and tear on the van, and you make that money rather than having to dog out 7 or 8 rides and just spend all that money in gas and fighting the traffic. Traffic in this city, man, is crazy. If I had to be in this traffic for like 9-10 hours a day, I'd go crazy. So that was really like where we were thinking. I was like, man, I'd rather have 2, 3, 4 rides a day than 8, 9, 10 and try to make the same amount of money. So
yeah, and I think it's a really good general lesson that like your time is valuable, especially as like the owners of the doctor ride. Like you can do a lot of things that have good long-term leverage, like doing a walk-in, working on a Google ad, improving the website, getting listed on another site for like off-page SEO. And I think part of the reason you've been successful is like you've been not wasted your time doing break-even broker trips. You've been really allocating that to sort of high-margin stuff. Along those lines, I wanted to ask, like, sometimes I talk to people who have never done a private pay ride, and it just feels like a huge hurdle to sort of get that first trip in. Mm-hmm. How did you guys get your first trip, and like, what did you have to do?
Right.
SEO, organic. Someone just found us online.
Yeah, our very first trip. I remember the lady. I remember exactly how it went. I mean, she was super nice. She just, as someone who grew up with a lot of family, it does surprise me sometimes how many people don't have anyone, right? And they just need help, right? And they don't want to ask coworkers or maybe some friends that they do have. They don't want to be a burden or ask them to take off work or whatever it may be. They just feel like they're being a burden. So I absolutely remember the lady. I can't remember what she had to go do, but yeah, no, it was just a straight up SEO call.
I will say it was a little it's a little uncomfortable because you're like, all right, we're really doing this.
Yeah,
This person called us and
yeah,
we're gonna give her a ride. All right, let's do it.
That was it. So
Nice. And you've talked a little bit about sort of, there is this sort of more affluent senior population in your area that's sort of, driving a lot of the revenue for you. I guess 100% of the revenue for you.
Yeah.
Who is actually paying out of pocket? Is it the senior? Is it like the spouse? Is it the family member? Like what are they actually buying when they're buying a doctor ride trip?
Yeah, no, another great question. So, and I think this is important to clarify. So we have two vehicles. Mac and I are owner operators. We don't have any drivers at this point. So when I said in the future, I think we would try to take on some broker rides to fill up space. At this point in time, for us, we just feel like our time is better spent building the business rather than doing those broker rides, because at the end of the day, me and him are doing the transportation, right? We've got two Ford Transit vans. We both are driving all day and then working on the business, like in between those rides or at night and early in the morning, whatever. But as far as your question about who's actually paying for the rides, so I would say about 30-40% of our rides are probably coming from the main facility and the couple other ones we have a contract with, the dental office, the school, the one-offs. But I'd say 60% of those rides at least are just individuals, and it's individuals paying for it, or family members booking for a senior parent. Surprisingly, a lot of people are just booking it for themselves for different things like colonoscopies, right? Like situations where they need transportation and they don't have anyone to take them. So a good amount of those are just actual individuals and they're paying for it by themselves, or it's a son or a daughter paying for their senior parent.
Yeah. I want to drop a quick nugget for people. It's something that me and Ray got some early success on that I think made us stand out in our market, that we actually have seen other NEMT companies copy us on this, which is kind of flattering because it's like we didn't know anything. We were just kind of shooting in the dark here and made it work. So, and I got this thought process from my mother, who's like the hardest working person I know. My mom works in sales and she does software sales for a big company, and it's really convoluted what she does. She tries to explain it to you. It's like you still don't even understand what she's talking about, but she's been doing it for 25 years. She has always told me when you're buying something, you don't want to be confused about what it is you're buying. You want to be very clear about what you're buying and how much it costs. So I say that because we offer a wait and return service, which we've gotten a lot of success with that in our market, because there's a lot of people who need to go get colonoscopies or their wisdom teeth removed, and these procedures require you to have someone wait for you on site because the doctor's office, they won't let you Uber out of there, and they want people to know that there's a ride waiting for them, so they're not just clogging up the office, right? So we, in the beginning, when we were trying to figure out our pricing, I'm sure most people did, you call around in your market and you pitch a fake ride to people, right? And you're like, hey, I need to get my mom from here to there, and kind of figure out, okay, this is what people are charging, right? So, and people have there's so many variables of we do 15 minutes free, or then it's then you start charging for wait time. So then we didn't want, the problem I was having with Ray when we were trying to do the pricing is I didn't want our potential customers to have to do some kind of convoluted math equation on the other end and have to do some mental math to figure out, or guesswork about how long their procedure was going to take. So we just took all that out of it and we just said, hey, listen, if you want to do the wait and return service, it's just a flat hourly rate, right? And I'll start the clock when I pick you up and we'll stop the clock when we drop you off. And we don't charge any miles for it, but we just really up the price on the hourly fee. And it's just so straightforward because it's okay, it's 2.5 hours, it's going to be $300 or whatever it is, right? So that for us, early on, really, we had no idea people were going to use it for what they were using it for. We just wanted to offer a more clean cut way for people to know if they need to hire you to pick them up, take them, wait for them, bring them back, that it's an easy way to calculate what that's going to cost. And that really helped us out because there are a lot of people, family members, who are calling because they need to go to a colonoscopy and they don't have friends or family or in the area that they want to ask. So yeah, that's who's using us, and that's what they, I think I answered that question, what they get.
Yeah, and even if other companies do offer something like that can help them, we didn't find anything online for that. So we really just tried to capitalize on, this wait and return service. We can be the designated driver that can bring you there, wait on site, and take you back. Because a lot of the time too, they're verifying. They're like, okay, who's waiting? You have to go inside and say, I'll be the one waiting, and they verify you're going to stay there.
Yeah, they do.
So.
They do. Yeah, what they get right now, since me and Ray are owner operators, we're really doing a good job. I know as you hire drivers, like, listen, we've had a business before, like, anyone you hire doesn't care as much about your business as you do. That's just the nature of it. But now that me and Ray are owners operators right now, what they're getting is the absolute best ride that money can buy in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's what they're actually getting. So I can happily say that. But yeah, no, that's peace of mind, man. Like, it's peace of mind. It's clarity that's going to be handled. It's confidence. We coming from real estate background, like Ray said in the beginning, like Ray, if you're not answering the phone, you're losing out. They're calling someone else immediately. So we just offer communication. I think is one of our really big strong suits. Is we're not leaving people in the dark. There's a couple times where traffic or construction is going on. Even if we're 5 minutes late, we are letting them know, because I don't want people wondering where are they. I don't even want you to wonder. If I'm gonna be 5 minutes late, I'm gonna let you know, because now you're not wondering, so.
Yeah, and like we saw that same issue crop up across a number of NEMT services. We actually like built into Duet that there's like a real-time tracker link that you can automatically send to your the family member or the spouse or the rider themselves, and they can see like, oh, they are running 5 minutes late, or oh, they're already sitting there waiting for me. I should come out and like meet them.
That's
Because
huge.
I think everyone should have some, whether, I mean, you can absolutely do it texting manually, but like, as you scale up, you want some sort of automated process for that.
Yeah.
100%. Last thing I kind of want to mention about our service, I think that kind of differentiates us from some of our competition, is something when we were doing our market research on this, and actually someone that works with us, she has taken quite a few non-emergency medical transportation rides, and something that we weren't even thinking about was, I know that a lot of providers will, they'll pick somebody up, they'll be taking them home, and then they'll go off route to pick somebody else up, and it can add a lot of time on. I've heard stories of people getting trapped in the car for an extra hour and a half when they should have been home already. So that's something we kind of have reflected with our prices, is our pricing is a little more premium, but for now, it does make sense for us to just, when we're picking you up, you're the only person in the vehicle. So that's kind of the angle we've taken with it, is if you're getting a ride from us, you're our only priority. We're going to pick you up, bring you to where you need to go, drop you off. There's going to be no one else in the vehicle. We're not going off track. And I think that's something that kind of can differentiate us from some of our competition as well. But
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that in there.
Great. And we had a question from Marcia about hours of operation, and maybe there's a follow-on question of how willing you are to go beyond the sort of stated hours.
Yeah, we're 24/7 right now, man. I mean, it doesn't happen that often where people are needing rides at 2 or 3 in the morning. We've had a couple people who called. Look, on my weekends, I'll stay up late playing video games at night, and I've had a couple people who were like calling at midnight. And I had one lady early on. I was like, I think you just need to call 911. This isn't something that I can't really help you out with this. Like you need to call like an emergency thing, or people are trying to call and haggle on price at midnight. I'm like, this isn't the time for that. If you need to go somewhere, I'll come get you. I have after hour pricing. I have an after hour fee, just a flat fee on top of our normal rates. I don't mind getting up at midnight to go do a ride, but I'm not going to haggle with price at that point. You know what I mean? So yeah, but right now we're 24/7. We really don't have that many rides that are late at night or super early morning. I do have people who need to get to procedures, like need to be there by 7. So I've had I've had 8 or 9 times in the last few months I had to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock to go like get someone so they can be there on time. But yeah, we're 24/7.
I feel like most of our rides take place between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty typical. And yeah, this is a complicated topic, but maybe just a quick answer to Joshua, who's surprised to see the membership business model you guys offer. I don't want to sort of take up. We could talk about the membership business model for 20 minutes easily.
For
What's
sure.
like the quick take on what you're exploring with that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, that's something we like just very recently launched, and I can't really confidently give you a good answer on whether or not it really works that well. The reason why we wanted to try that angle though is just because we have driven a lot of traffic for people that really do need consistent transportation for whatever reason. Maybe they have to be somewhere 3 days a week. And for our price point of what our rides cost, it just doesn't quite make sense for them to use our service. Isn't even if it is a better, or not better, but even if it is a great service, it's kind of hard to justify it. I think if you're using it, 3 times a week, all month long, I mean, it really can add up. But on the business side of things, obviously we'd love the consistency of providing that transportation. So we wanted to try to find a middle ground of, if we can create some sort of membership program where they pay a small monthly fee and then they get a significant discount on our normal pricing, if we know kind of what their schedule is like, if we can confidently fit it into our schedule and actually still provide a great service and have it fit in without taking up time that could otherwise be spent giving rides at our normal pricing, I guess. I hope that answers your question. I wish I had I wish I was further along to tell you it works great, but it's really new, to be honest.
We'll have you back in 6 months to walk us through like how other people can set up a great membership system.
Yeah, we got 1,400 postcards getting ready to get mailed out tomorrow, actually, that we put together that are promoting that. And I found I recently learned this. You can send postcards to, I don't know if you told me about this, James, I can't remember, but there's something called it's EDDM. It's everyday door mail, something like that. It's through the USPS, and you can see the routes, and on the route it tells you what their age is, like what their income is. So I just found the highest income with the oldest age, and I just am about to mail those people. I know the area where the wealthier people are in our city. We're just about to blast them out with 1,400 postcards. Pretty affordable, honestly. It's just going to advertise that membership. But yeah, like Ray said, we are just rolled it out. We don't have any data on it quite yet to say it works really well. We've had a couple people who are interested, but nothing hard on it quite yet. So, but yeah, no,
really curious to hear.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just gonna say, I'm really curious to hear how the direct mail goes, because I could see that working quite well with the senior population.
Yeah, we are excited about it, to see how it goes.
Cool. So I want to, we've talked a lot about your operation and what you've done to make it successful. I also want to talk about kind of the One NEMT systems behind it. Curious about what specific numbers do you look at every week? And what are the top 3 or 4 numbers that, a new provider would want to be checking every week to track how things are going?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, just to kind of explain what One NEMT is, I guess, just for everybody in the audience that doesn't know what it is. One NEMT is essentially so let me start here. Dispatch softwares like Duet, they do a great job of the actual operation, the execution side, right? Once you actually have a confirmed ride, a software like Duet can handle absolutely everything, right? But what we noticed is, before you have the booked ride, right, there's a whole process from someone calling your business or filling out a form online. There's a whole sales process to actually convert that lead into a paying customer, right? So what One NEMT is essentially it's your sales and marketing platform where you can basically drive those leads and convert them into something you put into your dispatch software. But to answer your question about what we're really looking at, there's a lot of metrics built into the system where basically at any given point in time, I mean, we could see how many people have called us this week. We could see how many people have filled out a form this week, right? And again, I know I mentioned these numbers a little bit earlier, but I really do look at this every week. How many people in my pipeline, I can see an active number of, these are all the quotes that I've given. This is the actual dollar amount of what we've sent in writing to people. Hey, if we give the ride, this is what the cost is. And we have an ongoing number that we can look at where we say, okay, this is how much is sitting in open opportunities is what we call it, right? And again, I like to look at what's actually booked and on the calendar, but we haven't completed yet, right? And we do take a deposit when we book these private pay rides. So we're not billing the whole ride up front. I know some providers are doing that for private pay. We do take a deposit because we like to try to solidify that we're going to be doing the ride, right? When we mark off the schedule that the van's going to be unavailable. But those are numbers I like to look at. Again, completed to see how the previous week was. And then, like I mentioned, the why did we lose out on these rides and why, which I think is a big driver as to the decisions that we make going forward, right? If we have a lot of people that are just saying no to our pricing, then that's probably a good indicator that we probably should consider reducing our pricing. If we are not able to accommodate these rides because we're already booked, we should probably try to get another vehicle at that point, right? So those are really like the key numbers I like to look at. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and I'd actually love to dig in a little bit. Like, what are you aiming for? You know, you obviously don't want every person saying yes to your pricing, you're too low. You don't want 90% of people saying no, you're missing out on good revenue. Is there a sort of percentage you're aiming for?
Yeah, I think we were trying to aim in the beginning. Our number's always been 30%. I want 30% of people to say yes to our pricing. And I'm okay if 70% says no. Then it just turns into like, how can we get in front of more people? You know what I mean? So if we're only getting 10 ride requests a week, then 3 people saying yes is kind of low. But if you're getting 100 ride requests per week, then it just turns into a like SEO and doing walk-ins and like talking to people, right? It's like, how are you doing your outreach and how are people hearing about you? But yeah, man, like we've just kind of going back to rich people problems, rich people prices. It's like the people who have, I've noticed people who have money are also just generally way nicer and way more willing to just be flexible and work with you. They're happy to pay for a premium service. That's when you get the people who are trying to pay $25 for a ride, and like they're trying to compare you to Uber, that they just want a nickel and dime and like maybe just not be as pleasant of a customer. So yeah, we've been trying to stick to that 30%. We just recently were running some numbers. I've been on the side, like since we nailed down our pricing and moved forward with it, I've been gung ho about sticking to it. And Ray's brought up a couple times. He's like, dude, you think we should drop our pricing? And so he's been more on like, maybe we should drop it. Like Ray brings that up, and I'm like, dude, I just don't know, man. Like I think we're in a really good sweet spot. I don't want to be compared to Uber. I want more wheelchair rides primarily. Ambulatory, we really don't have a lot of ambulatory rides. If we do, they are wait and return stuff for a specific type procedure that's requiring that. But yeah, 30% was kind of, we feel like as a premium product, a premium service, that's where we want to be at, is at like 35% acceptance.
The other interesting thing is that, and Mackenzie had brought this up to me before, is when you have like the people that say yes, they don't even really like flinch at it at all. And when they take the service and I mean, every single time we have someone in there, they're like, this is nice. Like this vehicle's awesome. You're great. Thank you. Which I just know, like, again, like we're owner operators, so we're really trying to like do a great job. It's harder when you hire drivers and stuff like that. But I think when people use the service, they're like, okay, now I see why it's a little more expensive. Like that is a really nice service. So
yeah, I've had a handful of people that have used us 10 plus times now, and they're paying full price. Like we gave them a discount. We give a discount on the first ride. After that, I mean, it's full service, and I've found that the people who can afford it are happy to afford it. It's one of those things, man. It's like when you find a service or you find someone, like this is true for us. For going back to real estate days, we find a good HVAC guy, we find a good electrician. I'm not going to keep calling around wasting my time to like price check to save what, like a little bit of money. You know, I know that we're going to do a good job, and the people have that confidence in the doctor ride that we're going to show up and do what we say we're going to do. So why would they spend their time shopping around to save a little bit of money if they have the money to spend? Now, to go back to your question a second ago about things that we track, this is a hard one, and I wish we were honestly better at tracking this. But it's like when people say no because of the price, it's hard to know. It's like, were we $10 away? If it was $10 cheaper, would they have done it? Probably not, right? They probably wanted it to be like $100 cheaper or you know, something significant, right? We weren't really on the edge of getting the ride. They were looking for something significantly cheaper, right? So that's hard to know when it comes to pricing. Like how close were you to getting it when they said no? Is really not, unless you just straight up ask them, I guess. So we don't do that, but yeah.
I think it all falls back at the end of the day on this is a business as well, and like it has to be profitable. So where we came in with our numbers, I think it's just a comfortable price where it's like if we're doing the ride, it is going to be profitable, right? And that was kind of my worry on like doing the broker rides, was it's just like, are these even going to be profitable, or are we just going to be driving all day long,
right?
And not even really be profitable. And also, like when you're on the road, there's a lot of risk in this business. You've got people in your vehicle. The drivers in our city are crazy. I mean, driving around is dangerous. So whenever your van's on the road, I mean, it is a liability. So that was another reason we kind of leaned in on that angle.
That's smart. Joshua had a question, like, how many trips are you doing per day, and per vehicle is also sort of a follow up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say approximately 2 round trips per vehicle per day.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 to 3 per day. Like
Yeah.
today, I had a wait and return this morning, and then I had a facility ride in the afternoon. Both of those are round trips. The wait and return, so we charge $125 an hour for our wait and return service, just to be transparent. And the colonoscopies are usually anywhere between 2 to 3 hours, right? So I picked up this woman at 7:30. I took her to a colonoscopy, got her back home at 11. So you could do some math on what that ride was. And then we had a round trip wheelchair for the facility that I did, and we charge 125 per leg for the wheelchair, and then we give that facility 5 free miles because most of their trips are within a pretty close proximity. That's the only hookup we give that facility on the pricing, is the 5 free miles. So I had that. So that first ride was like 400 and some change. The wheelchair round trip was 250 and some change, and then Ray did a one-way ambulatory?
Yeah.
One-way ambulatory trip. In like the most hellacious traffic of the worst part of the city that you could possibly be in
It was terrible.
in a huge van. So I mean, like today was like an $800 day roughly, but we only did 2 round trips and one way. So I mean, that's how we want it to be. If every day went like that, I'd be happy with that.
Which again, like at the end of the day, like when we're not doing rides, we're also not just sitting around. Like I'm actively working on SEO. I'm cranking Google ads. We're doing facility walk-ins. Like we're trying to land another contract. We're really trying to spend the effort. Like we're trying to spend our time on efforts that are going to hopefully produce more high-paying rides, right? So, it's a grind. Like I'm not gonna lie, right? Like it really is a grind to try to capture that customer base and really execute at those prices. But honestly, I'd rather invest in the long run of like really building a big customer base that knows and trusts us, and a huge stack of positive Google reviews and recurring customers. A lot of our customers are recurring as well. And I meant to mention this earlier, but we've literally had people use us. They were a little skeptical just like on the pricing. They went and used 1 or 2 other services, and now they're using us again because of what happened with the other services. So, but again, I mean, it's just,
you get what you pay for, man. That's just bottom line. Everyone knows that. So, yeah. And one more thing, man, I wanted to mention earlier about private pay. It's just like why we went down that route from the beginning is we're also big believers in building the long-term brand. I mean, I think, again, no shade on the broker stuff. I think that it's definitely just a model of this business that works. But at the end of the day, like the broker, I see the vehicles that I know are doing broker rides on the road, and they're just fulfilling a contract, which nothing wrong with that. It's just a different model. But we just wanted to go the route of like, there's a trusted brand that has a reputation that people can contact and know there's going to be a certain level of deliverance on the service, and that's just kind of fits what we like to do in our style a little bit better, I think, than just trying to like fulfill contracts. So we want to be something that like benefits the community.
Yeah. And then, you mentioned a couple of things about how the systems actually and the analytics help you make decisions, right? Like, you track the lost leads, and if it was a capacity issue, you think about buying another vehicle. If it was a pricing issue, you think about dialing prices up or down to sort of stay where you want to be. Are there any other sort of metrics you track or sort of systems you have in place that translate an analytic directly into like a business decision?
I mean, there are a handful of them. I mean, and also I know I mentioned this at the very beginning of the call, but if anyone's interested in seeing like exactly what this is, it's if you're a systems and processes person, it's a really tedious video, but I'd really do a deep dive on all the analytics of it. But no, I would say the metrics that I mentioned before those are like the key indicators, right? We want to know, what is our pipeline looking like? Like how many rides are we about to give this week? If the rides are looking really low, like we got to go knock on some doors. We got to go to facilities. We got to drop off brochures. We're going to the colonoscopy places and talking to the front desk and giving them a stack of brochures and business cards. We're cranking more Google ads, optimizing the campaigns. I think we really have just opted, we've really just opted to like maybe make less money right now to build a better long-term brand. So again, like I mentioned, even if we're not on the road, even if we're only doing, what is that, four trips per van per day, then the rest of that time is really spent like honing in the systems and like trying to get more people to call the business.
Yeah, I'm a confident believer that the current infrastructure we have in place, if you gave us 15 vans tomorrow with drivers that are ready to go, we don't need anything else. It could handle all of that right now. We could use the softwares that we have in place to handle a large operation. It's just our background from real estate. Like, real estate was a software heavy business when it comes to, like, there was a guy for everything. You go to a meetup, there was someone trying to sell you his tech software, there was just every little thing. So when we got into this and realized that there wasn't really much aside from dispatch softwares, that was when we were like, because we had a CRM that we were using for real estate, and Ray was going to work on that, but he found what we're using now, One NEMT. He built that for like, we use it for our business. It's not anything that we are talking about that we're not using ourselves. We built it to solve our own problems, because we had people filling the forms out that we were forgetting to follow up with because we're doing the rides, and it's like, oh crap, did you email that guy, or did you make sure they got that quote? So it's like, it took all of that annoying little tedious things that actually do make a difference when you add them all up. Because if you have 200 people filling out your form a month or more, there's no way, I bet money that not a single operator out there is following up with all those people manually.
Yeah, something I do think you asked about, like, what key metrics are there. We have a dashboard that's really cool, because you can compare. Basically, you can compare your private pay pipeline. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. You can compare your private pay pipeline to your facility contract pipeline and your broker ride pipeline, which we don't do any broker rides, but if you were, you could also put that in there. But within those, you could see, okay, what is our average like price per booking for facilities versus private pay, right? And what it would be for broker as well. Because like we talked about earlier, we do get the brokers do send us rides, we just never take them. Yeah, that would be something I think that's really good tracking wise. Is just it's just nice to see, like, oh wow, like we should really just focus on this private pay angle right here, because look at the average booking that this is over here, right? So yeah, not to get into the nitty gritty of like all of the tracking on there, but yeah, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to systems and processes, and actually like looking at everything, But yeah.
I think Talia is curious about APIs with One NEMT. And maybe this is part of a larger question about, like, how One NEMT sits on top of a dispatch software like Duet. Maybe you could speak to, what part is handled by One NEMT, and then it's sort of what data and when is sort of passed into the dispatch software, and what do you manage in the dispatch software instead?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great time to touch on that. So, as I mentioned, One NEMT is essentially your pipeline functionality for the sales aspect of your business. So, and this is totally customizable, but how it comes set up and how we're utilizing it is essentially at the beginning of the pipeline, you've got your inbound calls, right? Your ride requests, people filling out forms. That's going to start at the beginning, and then
this come in. It's multi-channel, right? People can Facebook message you, they can call you, they can
100%. Yeah, it has a unified inbox, and basically, so if you use a number within the system, or you can port your own number in. But yeah, basically, if anyone texts you, calls you, messages you on Facebook, whatever channel they're using, right, it's going to go into one unified inbox. From there, you can determine, okay, is this an actual valid ride request, right? From there, it kind of works its way down the pipeline. So the next stage, for instance, would be send this person a quote, right? As I mentioned earlier, we try to go above and beyond, and really just, we try to hand them a quote in writing. Hey, this is, if you decide to use the service, this is what it's going to cost. If you want to book it, this is what you need to do.
Right? You do that very quickly too, right? Because of the systems you have in place.
100%. Yeah. So we're doing that immediately. And then from there, we've actually got some automations built in to where something we noticed early on was that we might give someone a quote and then never hear from them again. And unless we're manually following up with them to find out what they're doing, then they might just float off into the abyss. So something that we implemented was an automation of just a light follow-up, where it basically follows up with them and says, hey, we're following up about the ride that you requested for so-and-so date. Were you still thinking about booking the transportation, or did you find other accommodations, whatever, right? So all that's customizable as well, but we do a couple touches. We send a text. After that, send an email. It's over like a 2-day period, right? Send them another one. If it was someone that was like calling about consistent transportation, like, hey, I need transportation all the time for the next 3 months or whatever, we have another part of the funnel where it's like, hey, you can put them in this pipeline stage, and then it will follow up with them a few times to see if we can still assist with their transportation, right? That's all manually happening. You're not really thinking about it, but a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, hey, I'll book. And it's just something that otherwise would have just floated off into the abyss. But to keep this on track here, it works its way down the pipeline, right? So quote sent, it automatically follows up with them if it needs to. And if at any point they respond, the automations will stop, right? And you just have to manually deal with, hey, no, I don't want to book, or yes, I'd like to book, and then you got to take over. But it works its way down. Once it gets to the booking confirmed stage in the pipeline, that is where basically you can put it in that stage and have it pop over into your dispatch software. So we've recently put this together with Duet. It's almost ready to go. We're just kind of working on some final touches with it. But essentially, you can have it pop straight over into Duet, and the ride will sit in the reservations section of Duet. Hop over into Duet. All the information's there. Have your dispatch, or yourself if you're doing dispatch, double check, make sure everything looks correct, and you can go ahead and confirm it there. So the goal is to seamlessly have it move from our system into theirs. And we don't want to step on the toes of what the dispatch software can already do, because the dispatch software executes operationally. There's a lot of great features in it that we don't need to have them in both systems, right? Like, our system is designed to take it from this is a potentially ride, it's a call, it's a form, whatever. It's going to nurture it down the pipeline and dump it into that software to where it can basically execute. But to answer your question, yes, you can seamlessly push it into Duet.
Yeah, it's very quick. It's like, you book it, you drag it to confirmed in one NEMT, which, by the way, Joshua asked about. You guys did develop one NEMT yourselves. So you confirm it in one NEMT, and 5 seconds later it pops up in Duet. Like, I've seen it. It's a really, really smooth connection.
Yeah. And hopefully, they don't cancel the ride or anything, but if they do, like if it gets dragged to canceled or whatever, it, updates in both systems. So
yeah, so it's important that this is like a two-way connection. So, if something, a lot of the information is flowing from one NEMT, like the top of funnel, into sort of the middle of funnel operational level, which is something like Duet. But then if there's an issue, like the ride's canceled, the ride's delayed, etc., that information gets passed back up to one NEMT. And so then you can track, look at the analytics and figure out, like, okay, that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
Cool. So wanted to ask you, like, who benefits the most from using like this kind of, top of funnel CRM analytics software plus a dispatching software? And then, like, who is not a good fit for this kind of platform, combined platform, I should say?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a couple tiers with the software. The most basic tier is a phone and CRM system with a unified inbox. It also has a form builder, so you can basically build forms, put them on your website, when someone fills it out, have it pop into your unified inbox, and we could push it over into Duet. So, like, I mean, I'm a systems and processes guy, so I feel like everyone should have some sort of phone system CRM. But at the end of the day, like, if you don't have rides booked and there's no revenue coming in, obviously I think it's a bad idea to spend money on software you don't need, just to be completely honest. But who can really, like, capitalize on this would be someone that's looking to grow the private pay side of the business. If you're somebody that is doing paid marketing, if you're sending direct mail, if you're running Google Ads, if you're doing a lot of facility walk-ins, if you're really spending money to try to generate inbound leads into your system, then I think a system like this would be a great fit for you, right? Because at the end of the day, it helps you sort through all that stuff. If we didn't have any sort of system like this, we would be wasting money on marketing, because we just wouldn't be able to properly follow up with people and nurture them through a pipeline. So I would say this is a good system for someone that's trying to capitalize on the private pay side of the business. I think if you're doing primarily broker rides, I think it's kind of unnecessary to have it, most likely. Well,
to add to that, though, I know a lot of people who are doing broker rides who are trying to transition into private pay, right? Like, they have the capacity to do private pay rides. But like you said earlier, people who haven't even done private pay rides and they're trying to get into that because first of all, your private pay rides are your most lucrative rides. You can charge the most money, you get paid same day, right? I mean, that's just the best thing that you can get rather than having to wait on contracts to get paid. So if you are the person who has a fleet of vehicles that are primarily doing broker rides and you want to, try to prioritize your nicest, cleanest van or vehicle to do private pay stuff, then, that I think that's a good fit because you already have the infrastructure right there. But yeah, like Ray said, if you're brand new, I mean, like we're still super new. We built it ourselves. That's why we use it, because we had to solve our own problem. And we just know from our background of doing deals in real estate, like you got to things have to get nurtured. This is not the only time, like the chances it's the only time they're going to need transportation so low, right? Miss Sue, who's in a wheelchair, or her husband's in a wheelchair, they're going to have stuff come up that they need, and they're going to talk about it to their friends. So it's a huge word of mouth business, but you got to have some place to keep all the contacts and be able to nurture them, and maybe we're not the best fit for some people, but if you don't have anything at all, right, then I don't know how, like, you just can't, I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, my Google Sheet's the best. And I'm not knocking it. Maybe it is, but this has like some stuff in it that's just a little bit better than just using a Google Sheet, So, and our last tier of it, I don't know if you talk about like that. We have an AI caller that receptionist.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. So we also have a AI receptionist that we partnered up with someone to build this, but our top of funnel right now, which some people probably would say this isn't a good idea, but I don't know. We're trying it out. We're just experimenting here, really. But we basically have a really solid AI receptionist that we built. We had it answer every single one of our phone calls for months on end, and it basically sits at the top of the funnel. And it like most people will submit a ride request through the AI itself, and then it actually just pumps into our system, into the pipeline, and we pick it up from, hey, this person needs to be picked up this date. This is the appointment time. Here's the pickup information. Here's the drop-off location, all that stuff. So right now we have an AI receptionist that's basically intaking a lot of these leads. And we do give people the option, like, if you want to speak to a real person, just say that. But people just, talk to it, give us all the information we need to see if we can accommodate it. And then we immediately reach back out to them to basically confirm that ride. But yeah, that is something that we have as well. But yeah.
Cool. And I know I really got to know you guys through your school community. Like, you guys run this NEMT guerrilla marketing school community. A lot of like really, go-getters, people who are hustling out there doing, tons and tons of trips, growing very quickly. Tell us a little bit about like what your thought process was with that community and sort of what kinds of people you'd like to have join.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure a lot of people did, we got into the space and we were looking around. We saw some groups, like the Facebook groups, and no shade on any of them. Everyone's just got to find where they where they feel like they're fitting in or they're going to get some value. But, dude, we've been a part of, and again, going back to real estate, we've been a part of so many groups, man. We've been a part of so many groups. And we were just like getting into NEMT. I was like, there's not a dedicated group for private pay. And we knew that was the route we wanted to go down. And then a lot of the free Facebook groups were just like a bunch of people who were like, how do I get started? And it's like, dude, I'm going to get started. I'm going to get started. So I want to talk to people who have already started and are actually committed to growing the same type of model that I am. We're busy trying to grow our own business. I don't have time to hold someone else's hand and walk them through how to do it for themselves. Like, that's not the kind of group. So we wanted to surround ourselves. I'm sure people have heard the phrase, like, your network is your net worth. I wanted to surround ourselves with people who were committed to private pay growth, who were actually real owner operators who we could learn from and network with. Because as people know, like, if you're in this business, this is not an easy business to get started in. Is it a service that has a lot of demand? Yes. Are there a lot of costly expenses that go along with it? Absolutely, right? So I don't have 15 grand a month to spend on marketing to just test stuff out. I have a few $1,000s extra a month, and I need to know it's going to the right thing. So we wanted to start a group that was for serious people, and we made it free for a little while, but then we started charging $5 a month. I listen.
It keeps people active,
Yeah.
It kind of
It
filters
adds
out
that
people who just want to
value,
work.
right? It adds that value when you're spending money on it. It just is a little bit different of frame for people when you're spending. And dude, you can't. $5 is so cheap. I don't care about the $5. It's more just to like have people who aren't just like joining just to kind of see what's up and then not do anything. I'd rather have a small. Here's what I want, man. I want the most valuable group. I want the people who are in there to be actually contributing stuff that other people can learn from, that can benefit that they could add to their business and benefit their business from, right? I don't care if it's 50 people in there, but if there's 50 people who are active, that are sharing wins and losses and like things that they're doing and implementing that are improving, or things that they implemented that didn't work, so that other people could save money and not do what they did, right? I think one of the early things that happened, we had a guy, his name is Cedric. Shout out Cedric, if you're listening to this, man, or if you see this later. Cedric is in Cincinnati. I've absolutely loved getting to know Cedric, man. He's one of my favorite people to talk to. He has the same kind of background as me and Ray when it comes to real estate, so we bonded quickly over that. Ray and Cedric had a powwow one day, just like comparing Google ad campaigns, because Cedric was running a different type of campaign than me and Ray were. And I'm not the systems processes guy. I'm the gunslinger. Let me get out and like push stuff, operate. I'm a ask for forgiveness, not permission kind of guy. So Ray's definitely more in the background, like cleaning things up and making things are following the rules. And so like him and Cedric really had a whole like session comparing notes about the money that because we were both spending around the same budget. So not to go on that tangent, but that was just like a big value add and like a proof of concept for us that like having a group that might be smaller but just more serious is definitely worth it, because we're not, we're all just trying to grow our businesses here, and I don't have money to waste, man. So I need to know if I'm gonna spend money on marketing, like I need to know exactly that this is something that could work. Another super quick example, Ray actually sent a mailer to a bunch of facilities a little while ago. It was like, how many was it? Like a few hundred?
Yes.
So, and we got nothing, man. It was a complete flop. Like not a single, but it was a piece of paper that was super wordy, right? And that had worked in real estate for us. We were like, man, no one's sending mail like this to facilities, being professional, yada, yada. Got nothing, dude. It completely flopped. But then I talked with James Bird, okay, who's also in our group. Love James Bird. Shout out James Bird. He was doing a completely different approach to his mailers for facilities. James, and I'm about to do this. I'm taking one out of his book, man, because this sounded so nice. James is taking a manila envelope, okay, and he's putting like a Starbucks gift card and a couple branded, just single pieces of paper that are branded, that like has his services, just very nice branded pieces of, like a flyer, right? And he's putting it in a manila envelope and writing to administrator. That's all he writes on it. It's like for administrator. And he walks it into the front desk. Sometimes he'll try to walk it straight to the person, but he will leave it with the front desk if he has to. But dude, you know that mailer stands out. He said he's gotten a ton of responses from that mailer, because it's just like, they're like, what the heck is this on the desk, right? It's in a manila envelope and it says for administrator, right? But he's been killing it with that, he said. So back to the school group, I'll hush, but those are the kind of people, man, that we want to surround ourselves with. And that is why we started the group and just put a low price tag on it, because it's like just that little bit of frame shift. Like, this is something that has value, and it's not just a bunch of people who are in here like, how do I get started, or where do you get your van? Dude, I'm not trying to talk crap about people. Like, we were that person at one point, but you have to have a certain amount of, I'm gonna figure it out, right? You have to have that, and then once you figure it out, then let's talk and like figure out how we can help grow the business. And I mean, you've been on the calls, man. You know, it's all love in the group, and we try to help everybody out.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things about the group is just those monthly operator calls that we have, where we actually set a time monthly, and we have, I mean, normally there's anywhere from, I don't know, 8 to maybe 15 people is maybe the most that ever got on it at once. I think there's like 62 people in the group right now or something, but there's normally a handful of people in the group, and most of them are serious and like really trying to grow their business. So the conversations are great in there. And we initially set them for like an hour, but they end up being like 2 hours long sometimes. So I mean, I get a lot of value out of every single one of them we do, and it's just nice to like connect with other people that are in a similar stage, or maybe they're further along, whatever the case is. It's just nice to connect with other like-minded individuals. So that was really the angle we came out with the group, specifically on like the growing the private pay side of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, John's saying I give gift cards with a handwritten thank you note for my facilities. I also send handwritten thank you cards to customers, and he's got a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah,
That's good
we're
stuff.
about to do that. We're about to do that. I'm gonna go get some Starbucks gift cards this week, and I got a couple facilities that I really want to work with because I've been there and they're pretty nice, and I think they'd be good ones to work with. So, dude, it's hard, man. Like we got lucky with our first facility, just it was the right place, right time. Because I've been doing walk-ins consistently, and it's hard to get the right person to actually like pay attention or even like care enough to want to solve their transportation. Some of them are just okay for their transportation to be half-assed. Some of them are they don't care, right? Like it just doesn't matter to them. But some facilities, they really do care because they're again it goes back to that premium. Some facilities are premium and they need premium partners to keep the premium, outside of the facility. So yeah.
Yeah. Cedric is saying, "Don't be so humble."
Cedric's in here. What up, dude?
Yeah. And by the way, I've dropped a link to both the school group we've been talking about here and a link to Ray and Mac's YouTube. They've got some really good YouTube content. I think the most recent video is like, Mac walking into a facility and like how he does it. And, always
Yeah.
really good stuff. You can always learn something from a new operator. So yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any other questions, I realize we're over the hour by some minutes now, but people are still hanging out. Feel free to ask more questions in the comments.
Yeah.
I just wanted to maybe sort of close out my questions with like, if you were starting over tomorrow, brand new NEMT business, like what's the first system you'd put in place? And like, what's something you'd skip that you thought was a good idea, but, turned out to not be so helpful?
That's a great question. I think that I would, before I even bought a vehicle or got insurance or anything, that I would go and I would just do tons of facility walk-ins and try to land some sort of facility contract that I knew was going to send me at least some rides for me to try to break even on what my overhead was going to be. As far as a system, I mean, I know I mentioned this earlier, but at the end of the day, like, if you don't have any rides, no revenue coming in, it doesn't really make sense to have these different softwares, right? Like at the very beginning, you don't really need it. Like if you don't have revenue coming in, you definitely shouldn't be spending money on all these different softwares and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if I had to start over again, I would really try to capitalize on trying to land some sort of facility contract. And again, I think we got a little bit lucky with ours, but Mackenzie was walking into, 5-10 facilities a day and really trying to talk to the person that was responsible for the transportation and really just a lot of boots on the ground. And he was very transparent about it. Hey, we're about to launch. We're a small business. We weren't pretending like we were something that we weren't, I mean, he was very transparent about it. The guy that we, ended up getting the contract with, he really respected the fact, wow, these guys have really like built, because he looked us up online. You go do these facility contracts, they'll look you up online, but he's like, wow, he's really impressed with the whole online presence and the fact that we were just transparent about what we were doing. And we're like, listen, man, if you give us an opportunity, like we will really try to execute on this. Like we will fulfill this. Brought him lunch like 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah. And we've crushed it for him.
So that would be my main thing. If I were to start over again, I would try to line up some sort of semi-consistent opportunity to give rides before I even took on any overhead, because I just think it's this is such an expensive business to run, and I think it's just such a nightmare to think about paying for a vehicle payment if you're financing it, paying for insurance, all the other costs associated with it. Like, I mean, it's a lot of overhead, and to not have any money coming in while you're trying to get a contract and you're just not having any traction is just like absolutely brutal. Like you should just spend a couple months really trying to like find some sort of opportunity where you can fulfill some transportation for someone before you even have a contract or pay for any systems.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would get Duet, because if you're doing
Yeah.
less than 100 rides, then you're good. It's completely free, right? So I would get Duet right off the bat to help out with that, so you're not just using Google Maps. And then, I would get some sort of like phone system. I see too many people who are using their personal phone as their business line. I mean, you can do it, right? But it's just like you need to separate them. And then getting some sort of place like, again, I know Google Sheets are great, and I've used them myself. I'm not knocking them. We did it, right? You just keep them for a little while, but it's like your Google Sheet's not going to remind you to follow up. It's not going to. So I would say what he said about getting a brand established, your website, marketing materials, hop on Duet, and then I would absolutely get some kind of phone system lined up so that way you're.
that is one thing we really preach in the community too. Is like if you're gonna get all these print out marketing materials, and if you're gonna really go do boots on the ground and like walk into these facilities, like the first thing they're gonna do is type your business in on Google. And if they can't find your business, or if they go to your website and it's not set up well and it just looks sketchy, they're just not even going to consider it.
Yeah.
So some sort of online presence, and then heavy boots on the ground with as little overhead as you possibly can until you can justify getting some of these other systems / Duet.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, guys. It was really good having you on. I think like we could go on for 2 more hours about like our favorite tips and tricks in NEMT. Well, we'll have to have you back sometime soon and do another session like this. But thanks everyone for joining us. This has been really fun. And remember, you can check out the school channel. We'll throw that in the YouTube video description. You can check out Rainmack's YouTube, and of course duetting.com is us if you're interested.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, James.
Thank you.